Ugh. Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a weekly track roundup where I go over what I felt were the best and worst tracks of the week. And yeah, that's it. We're just gonna get into that first. Of course, I got to do a few mentions. Down there in the description box is our Amazon Associates link. If you click on that and you live in the U.S., anything you buy, we get kickback from it. Does not add to your overall price. Helps out this segment. You like this segment? Help it out. Use that link to buy some stuff you were gonna buy anyway. Also, we have a similar thing going on with the good people over at Turntable Lab. There's a link down there in the description where you can click on that. It leads to a page where you can see some albums I've reviewed recently, get some turntable equipment as well. They also have a guide over there for people who are getting into turntables and audio equipment and vinyl collecting, a little bit of a frequently asked questions thing, so you can kind of get the 101 on some of this stuff. The crash course sort of thing is what I'm trying to say. And so we get kickback from any purchases you make off of that page and off of the website too, after you've hit that link. And finally, I want to give a shout out to our continued sponsor in this segment, the good people over at feedbands.com. This is a service, a monthly music subscription service that is one of the most unique I've come across out there. They use the power of crowdsourcing to get the music uploaded onto the website. A lot of independent artists doing it themselves, DIY, putting their music up on this website, and then people are listening to the music. They're kind of filing through the music on the website, and then they're thumbing it up. And the music that's the most popular, sort of agreed upon by the user base, by the subscription base on the website. Once everybody is kind of convened and like, wow, this is so good, everybody's thumbed this up, everybody really likes this, they print that shit on vinyl. I've never heard or seen another model working like this. They're kind of figuring it out as they're going along, but they are printing records. They had a bunch of records come out this past record store day. These records are real, they're physical, they're getting in the hands of the people who have subscribed to this service. And now what they want to offer you is not only can you hit up a link down there that is attached to the needle drop. It is feedbands.com/needle drop. But also you can get a free trial from Feedbands. All you got to do is pay shipping for the record, and you can go through their archive, through sort of their discography, as it were, the records they have released thus far. You pick out any record that they have put out, literally any album that they have put out up until this point, and they will send it to you as a part of this free trial. Cool? Cool. All right, that link is there. Feedbands.com/needle drop. Free trial, free trial, free trial, free trial. And now let's get into the tracks with the worst tracks of the week. I'm so happy. This week was so much more superior to last week. There were so many bad tracks last week. I felt like I was going to die. But this week, it's a 180. It's a total improvement. That's not to say that the songs that are bad this week aren't bad. At least in my opinion, I thought they were lackluster. We have a new song from Katy Perry titled Bon Appetit. I hate this track, not because fundamentally I think it's the worst song she's come out with, but it just reads like her trying to do a Miley Cyrus song. That's how this song feels to me. Not only that, but it seems like she's trying to give that whole vibe with her head and the food and the overt kind of wacky, zany, in-your-face sexuality of the track. Not that inherently I think these are bad things, but it just seems like she's doing a total 180, like there's a really significant change to her vibe and her demeanor and her delivery on this track. And it's just kind of I don't know. It just seems like somebody's already inhabiting that lane and doing it pretty fine. What are you bringing to this that the other artists, especially Miley Cyrus, what are you bringing to this that they aren't already? I don't know. It just kind of seems like a weird change of pace, but that's just me. But even worse than that, of course, is the brand new Fall Out Boy song. Jesus Christ, are they even a rock band anymore? This just sounds like bad electronic music, but like some shitty dubstep stuff. Like that's how hard and heavy the hook busts in on this track. It just sounds like a terrible fusion of a dubstep track and an EDM anthem. Sounds like trash. Sounds like garbage. It's just so overblown. It's so overdone. The music video is god awful. It's essentially about a girl who was raised in a furry compound with people who dress like llamas. and she escapes this abuse, one kind of abuse, only to end up in a club where Fall Out Boy is playing and to deal with a completely different kind of abuse. I mean, if that was me personally, I would go back to the llama compound, because the horrors of the potential of running into a Fall Out Boy concert is even worse than living in a compound where everybody's dressed like Yamas. So I don't know. That's just me though. But the song is god awful. And I don't really know what else to say other than that. But moving on from there, we have some meh tracks that I was kind of on the fence with, but are definitely worth mentioning, worth endorsing. Maybe you guys dig them a little bit more than me. Got to give a shout out to the new Dan Auerbach track, King of a One-Horse Town. I like the lyrics of this track. I like what Dan is trying to do with the narrative, with the story of this track. I do think instrumentally it is still a little corny, cutesy, schmaltzy. I feel like M. Ward and She and Him are doing this kind of stuff so much better and have already done it to death. Why is Dan trying to put his 2 cents in on this really tired, boring, aren't we so quaint sort of sound? One thing I've always loved in Dan's music, especially the best Black Keys albums, that there's always kind of been a note of fire and passion and urgency to what the band has done. But that is just completely just melted or just vaporized on these new singles I'm hearing out of his music. So I don't know what to say. It's just kind of lackluster. DJ Khaled, I'm the one with a million goddamn features on the fucking thing. There's Lil Wayne on this thing, Chance the Rapper, Justin Bieber, Quavo is on this thing. Look, to be honest, this is not as terrible as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like another Hold You Down. If I'm even saying the name of that track correctly, I want to erase that song from my memory, which is why I may have said that title wrong, but you know which song I'm talking about. The one with Future, and it was a really crappy track. I'm trying to wipe that and many other songs in DJ Khaled's discography from my memory, though Major Key was definitely one of his best records. This one, though, it was not the worst in the world. You know, I like the feel-good anthem that's kind of going on with the hook. I love how sunny and upbeat the beat is. It's not just like trying to go hard and make you think it's too sexy or make you think it's too tough or anything like that. It's just a smile-inducing, nice, very sunny track. Yeah, sure, it's pretty vapid. There's not much substance to it. And I do think it is kind of cluttered with every single goddamn feature on the track. But I do like at the core what DJ Khaled is trying to do on this song. I understand saying DJ Khaled is doing something with a song is weird, but you know what I'm trying to say here. But I'm not going to go too much into it. I don't think it's that terrible. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I wasn't expecting much, and it was like, whoa, the very low bar that was down here, they just barely surpassed it. And it's like, wow, that's always a nice thing. It's always a nice thing to be surprised. Moving on from there, Jeff Rosenstock has a new track out, a post-worry track titled Dramamine, which, I don't know, I kind of like his singing on the hook of this track, but there's kind of like a weird vocal passage in the song that I didn't really quite get into. I like the sound of the track, but it's, I don't know, it just seems like a really weird one-off that doesn't say much for me. You know, maybe I need to read more into the into this vocal passage that takes up so much of the song. But you know, it wasn't really wowing me or getting me excited or anything like that. I just based off of the vibe, just based off of the sound of the track. You know, hopefully though, maybe this is a part of another record. I really don't know much about the song, honestly. All I know is that I didn't really love what I heard. It was just okay. But for the hardcore fans out there, just wanted to shout it out just so that you're aware there's some new Jeff Rosenstock out there. I got to give a shout out to the new PJ Harvey single, A Dog Called Money, which is pretty underwhelming. It's very low key, but the PJ Harvey fans, you probably want to check it out. It's a new, you know, sorry, I'm a little sleepy. Another post-album single, or the first post-album single she's dropped. Not sure if another project is on the way anytime soon, but it seems like some afterthought material just had to seep out there that she had to get out. Christian Scott, aTunde, Adjuah has a new track out, also featuring Elena Pinderhughes, which if you remember her from one of his recent albums, did some great flute solos all over that. This new track over here, it's very airy, it's very smooth as far as contemporary jazz music goes. Didn't really strike me as all that urgent or really all that adventurous in terms of like fusions of different genres coming together, like on Stretch, which I liked so much. This to me just felt like they were playing it a little too straight. There was like some decent solos, some decent performances on this track. It just didn't really strike me as all that fiery or exciting. That's all I'm saying. But for the jazz heads out there, people who have been enjoying Christian Scott's output, do check this song out. Don't miss it. And he has a new record coming out this year as well. So that's good news. Joji, a.k.a. George, a.k.a. Pink Guy, a.k.a. Filthy Frank, has a new solo track out, a new solo single. Everybody's been dogging this dude like, hey, when are you going to come out with more serious music, more real music? Well, here you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a real song, a real serious song from Joji. And, it's okay. It's like kind of a cloudy, sad piece of homespun hip-hop. With a song hook. It's very moody. It's very, very moo. And, I think fans really seem to be getting down with that. Fans love hearing the moody, sad raps right now. It's not really kind of coming from where I'm coming from. I'm not feeling that excited about the track personally. I do think, I think George pulls together some pretty solid stuff, considering that it all seems to be kind of like on the fly sort of DIY, sort of endeavor. And considering, just how silly and crappy people think some of his Pink Guy music is, when he cleans up and tries to put out something, like something serious, as it were, it's actually kind of surprising. It's like, whoa, this is the same guy. So effectively, again, I think he succeeds at kind of creating that different artistic vibe when he sort of creates music under this name. And clearly he's going through a little bit of something, because this is not a track that you come out with when you're feeling like you're in a great mood. But I do think it is a decent track. I do see the hype behind the track, and I don't know, maybe we're going to see more music under this name, more music of this style in the future. I don't know, or maybe this is just kind of one-off thing. But considering this is coming out on the YouTube channel that it is, when are we going to see that Rich Chigga collaboration? That's what I want to know. When are we going to see some, like a Rich Chigga full collab mixtape or some shit? That's what I want to know. Moving on from there, a couple more tracks. Blondie has a new song out titled Fragments. Now, nearly every Blondie song so far from this forthcoming record I felt was badly performed, sounded awkward, but this track was really kind of a change of pace. I thought this song was epic. I thought it was emotionally potent. I love Debbie Harry's performance on this track. I feel like she really kind of gives it her all. I like the chord progression of the track. There are a lot of things I love about this song lyrically and musically, but what's funny is Adam of Your Movie Sucks actually wrote this song, and I knew this because weeks and weeks and weeks ago, Adam had hit me up on Twitter and said, hey man, like, have you been following this Blondie record? Like, what do you think of this track, this new track? I was like, oh, I didn't like it. And he was, kind of asking me questions about it and more questions. And I was just like, why is he so curious about my thoughts on this album? And he says, hey man, if I tell you something, can you keep a secret? And I said, yeah, sure. And he's like, I wrote one of the songs on this record. And I was like, what? How does that even happen? Like, what is the story behind that? And I guess a member of the band is a really big fan of his YouTube channel, and he promotes his artistic stuff, his music stuff on his YouTube channel. And through that, the song got back to him and the rest of the band, and they were like, wow, we really like this track, and we want to cover it. And so they approached him and they got permission, and now the song is on the freaking record, and it's kind of shaping up to be one of the best songs on the album. And it's interesting going back and listening to the original. They really reinvented it, and I don't know. Adam should be really happy. Adam should be really proud, honestly, because I think, not only is it a great song for Blondie, but I think it's really cool to kind of hear his vision sort of fed through kind of the studio animal, because the original is very demo quality, and Adam's vocals were like really kind of rough around the edges. And now it's sort of like been turned into this entirely different animal. And I feel like the full potential of the song has almost been like reached through this Blondie cover. So give a listen to the track. It is a great song. I do kind of like the rawness and the bluntness of the lyrics a lot. And, you know, I mean, hopefully I end up liking more tracks from this Blondie album. I'm not anticipating it, but I had to highlight this not only because of that, you know, sort of Your Movie Sucks connection. Shout out to Adam. Love you, dude. You're the best. But you know, I had to shout it out just because of how good I thought the track was. Moving on from there, Forest Words has a new track out titled Panic that I liked a lot. Really primal, cerebral rhythms on this track. Something almost like I'm listening to this beat coming out of the jungle or some shit. It's a very moody, very strange tune. Give it a listen. Music video is weird and avant-garde as fuck as well. So, you know, go into this expecting to be weirded out. Got to give a shout out to Algiers, The Underside of Power. This new track is powerful. It's soulful. It's hard hitting. It's got that rock kind of somewhat post-punky edge to it. Just like so many of the great tracks from the band's last album. Really anticipating this new song. And I feel like those elements of kind of rock music and, you know, politically motivated black soul music are coming together in a way that's more seamless on this song than before. On the previous record, not that they felt sort of tacked on or sort of cobbled together, but the elements of the music that were coming from one place and the elements of the music that were coming from another place were very clear. But now it sort of seems like they're blending together a little bit more smoothly, a little better. And I think it's, you know, it's making for a really great tune in this instance. Moving on from there, SZA has a new track out with Travis Scott titled Love Galore. If you remember, SZA's last album, super unimpressed with it, did not like it at all. Even SZA herself was pretty pissed off at me and hit me up on Twitter in the DMs and was like, you know, telling me how wrong I was or telling me like, you know, how ridiculous I was for like not liking the album. It was definitely one of the most negative reactions I've seen an artist have to one of my reviews. But what I think she's doing here, and I hope she realizes this, is miles ahead of what she was doing on that Z album, on that debut album. This over here is so much more sleek and sexy, sounds more professional. It's more hard hitting. I feel like her delivery has so much more sass to it. It's so much more sensual. It's so much more exciting. Again, I hope she realizes that she's like beyond what she was doing before. Like she's miles ahead right now. I'm not going to say it's some kind of deep, experimental, crazy alternative R&B or anything like that. You know, for a piece of music that sounds like a contemporary piece of R&B, I think it is very emotional. I think it is very powerful. I do think it does have, you know, a very strong, like, there's kind of like that strong physical sexual kind of quality to it that I love. You know, it's like it's just dripping in like sex sweat, I guess. to sort of is probably the best way that I could put it. You know, and it's also like a little dark too. And this is like all without me trying to analyze the music video or anything like that. You know, I'm just talking about the song. I'm just talking about the music itself. I think what she's doing is really interesting on this track, and I'm hoping for more, you know, more of like stuff of this quality going forward. But moving on from there, Mac DeMarco, One More Love Song. It's a decent, sleepy little ballad, probably one of the better sleepy little ballads that I've heard from this album so far. But again, I feel like the full impact of all these very kind of low-key songs will be felt once I hear the entire album. So I like that. New Chris Stapleton song, Second One to Know. Thought that was a great country tune. That was a fucking tub thumper. I don't know what else to say other than that. I just thought it was a quality tune, like the lyrics, like Chris's vocal delivery on this track. And I just want to support and want to shout out any country that sort of is like this, has that rootsiness, has that rawness to it, you know, isn't like gussied up. You know, if I'm listening to something that's coming from that backcountry place, that backwater place, that redneck place, I want to hear something that feels like it. You know, I want to hear something that feels like that. I want to hear something that sounds like some kind of crazy, expensive glitzy studio or some BS like that. I want to hear some raw ass country music. And while, you know, Chris Stapleton isn't like hitting you in the same way that a David Allan Coe might, you know, it's definitely rawer country than I think a lot of us are used to listening to. And, you know, I like hearing artists do that, especially in the contemporary sphere, because, you know, a lot of the country that I like is older. I love hearing artists that are newer, kind of bringing newer contemporary sounds to that kind of authentic kind of country, you know, down south kind of vibe. So I'm liking this track quite a bit. Want to give a shout out to the new HAIM song. Right now, the girls in HAIM are back with a new track that doesn't sound like the studio track. I don't think this is the studio track. Sounds like they're doing some kind of like session thing on this song, as according to not only the sound of the track, but the music video too. And this is not kind of one of those hard, straightforward rockers that the band has come out with in the past. This is more of like a very drawn out, very dramatic ballad type situation. And, you know, we haven't heard too many songs like this from the band, at least not this dramatic, at least not this strung out. And I actually think it goes over pretty well. I think it's pretty powerful. You know, maybe the studio version will be so significantly different that I don't like it. You know, unfortunately, that could end up being the case. But hopefully, you know, whenever we hear the studio version of this track, they stay true to, I guess, just how intimate the performance was of this studio version of the track. You know, obviously, there are probably a million different ways you could record and re-record this song. But I loved the intimacy of this track. I loved the emotion of this track. Again, I loved the drama of the track, and hopefully that's maintained on whatever version we end up hearing of this song from their forthcoming record. Moving on from there, I want to give a shout out to Danny L. Harle of the PC Music Camp. New single out titled Me For You, featuring Morrie, which I thought was a good, quirky piece of electronically tinged vocal pop. You know, exactly the kind of, you know, hitting that good balance between, hey, it's weird, hey, it's left field, hey, it's kind of strange, but whoa, it's super sweet, it's candy on my ears, sort of vibe that I get from a lot of PC Music's tracks. Liking that direction on this song too. I want to give a shout out to the Mountain Goats, new song titled Rain in Soho. The Mountain Goats are coming out with an album very soon that apparently is guitar free. And this song is, of course, you know, kind of staying true to that promise. And it's a really dramatic track, sort of big, like choral vocals coming from the background, like no. It's like some really weird arrangements that are very strange and kind of unexpected on the song. But honestly, vocally, as far as like emotional performance and lyrics too, John Darnielle's fucking killing it on this song. I feel like the fact that, you know, he's kind of freed up on this track, and with these tracks a little bit, you know, with there being no guitar on this on the record, he's kind of free to just kind of like play that character, play whatever role he's putting himself into on a song, and just kind of give it that full sort of theatrical performance on a track. And you know, as far as the theatrics, as far as like the acting that I feel like goes into a lot of his songs, it's just turned up to 11 on this track. It's just turned up to fucking 11, and that's all I got to say about that. Shabazz Palace's new track Shine a Light featuring Thaddillac. Liking this track a lot. In my opinion, much better than almost anything I heard off of the band's last record, which to me went a little too far in the direction of like, let's get more obscure, let's get more disjointed, let's make things a little bit more obtuse. This track to me felt a little more accessible, especially with the instrumental, which had like a really strong, like kind of soulful vibe coming off of it. It was very sweet. It was very easy on the ears. Wasn't like really alternative, wasn't really synthetic, you know, which is of course a quality I love about their debut record Black Up. But you know, I feel like the elements of the band's music that did really kind of stick out as being vibrant and really catchy were kind of lost on the sophomore record. It feels like they're coming back a little bit on this new record, and hopefully, you know, they can kind of strike that same balance again that they did on their debut, but sort of find new ways to kind of embody that on this upcoming album. But what I'm liking so far, what I'm hearing so far rather, I'm liking a lot. And the last track I want to give a shout out to is from this up-and-coming rapper who a friend of mine recommended to me. Has this new YouTube video, this new single out titled Brink, and the dude's name is Lou the Human. This guy's delivery, his style, reads to me a lot like Tyler, the Creator, early Eminem. There are a few other names that I can mention as well. And I know there are a lot of people out there who don't really care for Tyler or Eminem. But there's something about his delivery to me that reads almost like, sure, it's eccentric, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, it's a little cartoony, especially when you read in his lyrics. I do think he has like a lot of funny, dirty, weird lyrics that an Eminem or a Tyler fan would appreciate. But I think there's kind of like a bit of a scumbag quality to the things that he's saying in his delivery as well that I don't normally get off of Tyler. I don't get off of Eminem. And I'm going to leave you guys with that. Hopefully you got some good recommendations off of this video. Hopefully you got some good leads on some of these artists over here. And hopefully you check out the songs that you liked and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. Okay, hit up that Amazon Associates link as it is linked down there in the description. Hit up that Turntable Lab link and hit up the people over at feedbands.com. Support them because they are continuing to support this segment as well. And that is going to be it for this weekly track roundup. Thanks for watching, guys. My voice is a little tired now, so I'm going to go rest that, and I will catch you in the next video forever.